Today on Aging Untold,
recognizing where are you in this grief process.
navigating loss and coming out stronger on the other side.
All those tips that we just shared all work.
Plus, feeling isolated? You don't have to go it alone.
None of us are able to live in complete and total social isolation.
We'll give you tips to help you or a loved one reconnect with the world.
There's other forms of communication. There's touch. You still keep them connected.
Then,
It's a scam. Somebody has stolen my image and my content, and they're trying to get your money, and don't fall for it.
how one social media-driven scam is using AI to sell a real product but on a fake premise. And you're never too old for a little puppy love. How one 9-year-old is making it her mission to bring companionship to seniors, one furry friend at a time. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. Today's conversation is about an untold form of grief. Often when we think of grief, we think of the loss of a loved one, but that's just one kind of loss. Whether it's an aging parent grappling with no longer being able to do things they loved, like driving, or children watching their parents struggle with simple tasks like walking upstairs. For both older adults and their caregivers, there's the loss of something. Amy, this type of grief we're talking about is a little different from what most folks think about when we talk about a loss, right?
Yeah, I think when people think about grief, they think death and then they think divorce. And they don't realize that with every loss of a limb, loss of use of your hand, you're in grief. And there are stages of grief that you experience with every single loss. And some of the issues that happen are not recognizing that you're in grief, that you can't go to the grocery store alone anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm. And grief happens through all kinds of things. I tell people all the time, empty nesters are grieving. They're grieving being that parent to that child as their kids have now moved out into adulthood. And sometimes it can be devastating. And so we don't talk about it a lot of times, but it's called anticipatory grief when you're grieving what's going to happen, what you know the inevitable is. Mm-hmm. And you're not just the only one grieving. Your family is grieving as well, and the people around you.
I mean, I think the children are shocked. Parents are living it. Children are like, what's going on? And when you look at things that are occurring in the body, people will start to suppress things. And one thing I have always said is what your mind suppresses, your body expresses. Okay. And what do we mean by that? We mean you start physiologically, whenever you have a stressor on your body, you start this what we call the cortisol reaction. Increased cortisol, increased blood pressure, inflammation starts going on. People start getting sick, or you start having more medical conditions occurring. That's what's going on. The body is expressing itself in a way that you suppressed.
So it's really important that we try to stay in a state of hopefully joy as close to it as we can get, and kind of giving ourselves pep talks, encouraging each other, but also what are some maybe medical things that we could do to support that kind of feeling that, you know, things are well.
Being able to, like Amy says, see a therapist. I mean, talking about things instead of suppressing them. I mean, you have to have an out. Yeah. And a lot of times that out is communication and talk to someone else that can help you work through it.
What I've recognized in people is when you say the stages of grief are denial, anger, sadness, bargaining, acceptance. There's other versions. Sure. Death and Dying, the first book that was ever written by Dr. Kubler-Ross. I love that book. But when you see those stages, you can recognize where you might be in that process.
But you have to recognize not everyone's in the same stage you're in. And that's where it's really hard, because I might be, as your child, in acceptance. And you might be angry and mad as a hat. And I take your anger as a direct hit to me, feeling like you're mad at me, when you're really just mad at the situation. You're mad at what you're losing. You're mad at that thought of, you know, we all kind of look at aging with these glandorious eyes, and we're all going to age a certain way. We're going to age the way we are today. And then we're going to pass away. And to think that that's not what's happening. So I'm mad over that. the whole thing creates that state of grief. I don't think we deny it. I think we have to accept that that's what's happening.
I remember, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I think denial is the first stage of it, but you have to deny something to even get to the point of acceptance. But even though they name these stages of grieving, everybody doesn't go through 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. No. You may skip 2 and 3, you get down here, you come back over here, and that's what makes it so unique of an experience to each person.
I remember sitting with a client, she was sitting on the couch, and her daughter was running around, angry, like just trying to get things packed up. You could feel her frustration, and the woman looks at me and she says, I'm ready to go. And I knew exactly what she meant.
Sure.
And so I sat the daughter down, and the daughter settled down, and they had a very meaningful moment. But you have to kind of acknowledge, like the woman did, I'm ready to go. She could see her daughter wasn't ready. And it made for a meaningful moment. So recognizing, where are you in this grief process? Right. I mean, I remember when I watched my dad use a walker for the very first time, I had to turn around and start crying.
Because the man that you always saw as a strength, as your rock, was unfortunately limited.
Right.
And so that realization for anybody that cares about you, be it your children, be it your spouse, be it your close friends, that's tough.
We just don't want to let go of the people that we love.
Let go of the people we love, but we, you know, in dealing with this, we have to seek the help that we can. We have to reach out and talk. We have to talk with one another.
Therapy. You know, get a therapist, counseling.
Said I'm ready to go. That was the same thing that happened with my mom and her mother. My mom was not ready to let go. And my grandmother, she was holding on for my mom.
Right.
But as soon as my mom had that conversation with her, she came to terms with it, came to acceptance, and she had a conversation, and she gave her permission to go.
So you can buy books. You can buy books on death and dying. There's support groups. Medicare pays for counseling. You can go to a religious institution if you go to one and find out if you can get support groups. There's grief support groups that are wonderful.
There's one elephant in the room that I want to address for someone, because someone out there is thinking about who they might be estranged from.
Oh, absolutely.
Or who they're mourning that's long gone, and they may not have those people to have the conversations. 30% of our population is aging solo, and that can even be due to estrangement. So that's a very painful issue. But all those tips that we just shared all work. Support groups, therapy, and doing everything you can.
Support groups, because you don't have to go through life alone.
Still to come, how scammers are using AI manipulation and stealing your social media content to peddle their products.
I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. I said, that sounds just like me.
But first, breaking the barriers of isolation and reconnecting with others.
We're not trying to build a club for 80s and 90-year-olds, unless that's what they want to do. What we're trying to say is just allowing our aging community to continue to feel part of the world and feel part of purpose.
As we grow older, many Americans can experience feelings of isolation. Whether they are living alone in their own home, or even if they're living with family members, they often may not feel seen or heard. The National Institute of Aging cites that 1 in 4 adults 65 and older are socially isolated. Sam, let's look at some of the underlying factors behind the disconnection people feel and how we can help them reconnect.
Sometimes you can't. If it's living with family members and the family members aren't engaging with you, say they've moved you in because it's convenient or because they feel like that's the best thing for you, but now they're living their life separate from you and not including you, then it's less on you and more on them. And just making them aware that you've invited this person into your home and into your life and engage with them.
Some people say, why is isolation a problem? Why should I even be listening to this? Well, the extreme example is somebody that was a prisoner of war. That's the extreme example. Well, if we're alone and don't see people and interact with people, you could have other medical issues.
Remember, it's not just about being alone. Just because you're alone doesn't necessarily mean isolation, but also isolation can be you're there with other people, but they don't include you. They don't see you. You're absent. physically, that has some detrimental things. Like you could become depressed. Again, it breaks down to the body's response to feeling stressed. And it tends to lead down that pathway of becoming sick, other medical conditions, making things worse in that. And it's not healthy.
Less human interaction is going to increase drops in cognition.
Yeah.
So you're going to have more cognitive decline the less you're interacting, the less you're engaged with others. That doesn't mean that we take an introvert and we throw them out into a party. You know, we're not trying to build a club for 80s and 90-year-olds unless that's what they want to do.
Right.
What we're trying to say is just allowing our aging community to continue to feel part of the world and feel part of purpose.
Right. Let's say you're at home and you can't get out because of some logistical issue.
Sure.
So
don't drive.
if you're a caregiver, you're a family member, use Uber, get them out, have things delivered in, use practical solutions to get them out if the only reason they're isolated is they physically have a limitation.
And let's recognize, we have people who, what about those instances where, man, they were the life of the party. They were always going, and then they had a stroke or something. And they're there, but they're sitting in the corner and they're just not, they're isolated because they can't. But there's other forms of communication. There's touching. You still keep them connected.
And I want to bring up healthy agers. And so for those that are healthy, to be thinking about, okay, how can I be more engaged? How can I spend more time with cohorts, people that have had kind of the same life experiences, lived in the same time, maybe raised their family in the same time?
Somewhere, I've read it. I don't know. I can't remember. It says it's not good for man to be alone. Am I right? Isn't that written somewhere?
I think I've heard that.
I think I've heard it. And so we have to take that into account. That's real. None of us are able to live in complete and total social isolation. That's why isolation in a prison is a punishment. It's because it's not healthy and it's not good for us.
And then for me, as a caregiver myself, yes, I'm a doctor by day, but after I finish that job, I'm going to see my parents every single day. So I get to experience that side of caregiving. And a lot of times, like my mom, she loves to hang out with me. So any excuse, Ray's going to be working on her charts and it's going to be dark. So I'm going to sit here with her. But she just enjoys that socialization.
Absolutely.
All right, ladies, we've got so much more. We'll be back on Aging Untold.
Still to come on Aging Untold.
I don't have to chase him. I don't have to clean up after him or feed him. So what better could you have?
Fake furry friends bringing real joy to seniors. But first, a new scam strikes social media. Hackers using AI to steal your face and voice to sell their product.
Whether you're on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, you've likely seen posts made with AI, even if you don't know it. And that deception is what some scammers are counting on to get your money. Here's Kristen Crawley with how one social media-driven scam is using AI to sell a real product, but on a fake premise.
He's not the target demo for social media, especially TikTok,
Can I put my hat on now?
where the average user is under 35.
Hello, everybody.
But at 84 years old, Charles Ray posts content regularly.
Hope you had a nice day.
And he has an impressive list of followers. A following he built
Where should you never take your dog?
with a simple concept:
You ready?
to make people laugh.
To a flea market.
All I want to do is, I found this out a long time ago, is to make people smile. Because if you smile for a minute, you're going to forget all the problems you have. And I know people have problems.
And recently, there's video of Charles talking about a big problem of his own.
I have a story for you. So after I retired, I decided to take a leap of faith and open my own dog rescue. I am currently struggling to make ends meet and keep it open.
A struggling animal rescue that could be saved if you purchase these.
I decided to start hand-making dog slippers.
There are dozens of comments of support.
Thank you so much for what you do.
Start a GoFundMe, please.
Love that you are trying to help pups. Boosting.
But the real problem? That's not Charles's video.
And open my own dog rescue.
And neither is that voice.
I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe it. I said, that sounds just like me.
It's AI.
It's a scam. somebody has stolen my image and my content, and they're trying to get your money, and don't fall for it.
Is this a crime?
Yes, I mean the use of images, creating things as jokes and satire is obviously not, but using AI to commit a fraud is a crime.
We went to the nation's top investigative agency to talk about the issue, FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. Ronan Byrne is unit chief of the Cyber-Enabled Fraud and Money Laundering Unit. He says cases involving AI-related fraud are growing, with thousands of complaints a day. If the complaint is tied to a website, Byrne says the FBI can track down who runs it. But despite this being a crime, the videos persist on social media, oftentimes lingering for months, sometimes generating hundreds of thousands, even millions of views.
Those people come on there and to hear a joke, no matter how corny it is, but they hear it and they trust me. And then they see that, and then there goes the trust.
We reached out to TikTok about this scam and what's happened to Charles. It did not respond. If your image or likeness is being used to sell products, or if you purchased a product based on an endorsement that was manipulated with AI, you can report it to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center by going to ic3.gov.
This makes me so sad for Charles, because at first I'm like, oh my gosh, this is such a great story. I really love the idea of people engaging in social media and being brave and thinking of new things to do and plugging into our new world.
I had this happen to me. This very thing. I taught at a conference with you, and that video was then taken by AI, by a scam artist, and AI was superimposed using my voice, my image, and I was selling a medication that cures dementia. I don't sell medications. I teach, but I do not sell anything. But that happened to me.
I suppose it's a compliment to you and Charles.
I guess, Charles, and I'm in a great crowd there with Charles.
You could take it that way. I was like you, Catherine. I was so struck by his entrepreneurship, his desire to serve and please. It made me want to follow him. But then also, I wish people would say, I don't sell anything on every single time they post, so that we would know, I don't sell anything, don't buy anything, just as a disclaimer.
There's no way to track.
There's no way to discern which one's real and which one's not.
Or when you're sending money, is there any way to track where that went?
I wouldn't send money to anyone without making sure that it's...
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, these people.
Yeah. That's like the answer, don't do it. Just don't do it, right.
Up next, the inspiring idea behind these faux furry friends. How this 9-year-old is bringing companionship and a little puppy love to seniors.
With more older Americans living in care communities, too many go most days without having any visitors. But 9-year-old Evelyn Hill in Kentucky started her own nonprofit to change that, one furry friend at a time. Here's reporter Marissa Burke.
All right, Miss Louise. We would like for you to adopt an animal today. What are you thinking?
She's not talking about a real pet.
Their bellies go up and down so that you can see that they're breathing.
These stuffed animals come from a 9-year-old girl and her mom. Their nonprofit is called Evelyn's Blessings.
I have so much joy from this, and I love it so much.
The idea came after multiple trips to Evelyn's Poppy at a long-term care facility that takes care of dementia patients. Evelyn and her mom Jennifer noticed many residents didn't get any visitors, so they found a way to bring companionship to them.
He's still, I don't have to chase him, I don't have to clean up after him or feed him. So what better could you have?
Evelyn believes each pet removes the loneliness residents may be experiencing and replaces it with joy. Her favorite part is the surprise.
Probably whenever I see them get into the room and they don't know really what they're here for, and then I show them what they're here for, and then they're so happy.
This 9-year-old's generosity is also helping her reach milestones. Her mom says she's the youngest nonprofit holder in the state of Indiana.
I tell her all the time that she's the little girl that I wish I could have been when I was younger. And just seeing the drive that she has and the compassion and the love that she has for the elderly is It's just unmatched.
Their goal is to visit as many long-term care facilities so even more residents can feel Evelyn's heart through Evelyn's blessing.
Oh my goodness, what a legacy she's creating at 9 years of age.
Absolutely. I love that.
Oh, awesome. It just reminds me of when we talked about the other avenues of the interaction between the elderly and the young, and how it could just be so symbiotic.
Yeah, I was watching it thinking, I wonder what people would be thinking that it's not a live animal. I think I'd rather have a live animal, but I've had that experience where they bring the stuffed animals in that can mimic being an animal with somebody with Alzheimer's, and it's magical, just like that.
A lot of people view that as a childish behavior on the elderly, and it's not. Nurturing is one of the most core human experiences we have, and we're giving that back to our elderly. So whether it be a baby doll or a stuffed animal, you're giving them that sense of purpose again and that adult experience.
Well, you heard what she said. She doesn't have to chase it.
She doesn't have to chase it. She's not walking it. She doesn't have to feed it. I love this. I was, honestly, the thing I was sad to see was she didn't tell us how she funds it and how we could help her.
Yeah.
Because those animals are fairly expensive.
But the one thing that you could see that the older people there felt her caring and her love.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure that makes them feel good too, that they're part of Evelyn's blessing, that just that relationship and no telling what she and her mother might go on to do. And she really is just delivering joy with every smile and every animal she delivers like that. So what a cool thing. We need more of it.
Yeah, we're right.
All right. We don't talk enough about aging, and that's why we're here, to embrace it and talk about it together. Until next time.
Next time on Aging Untold.
Science shows that having faith can make living and dying easier.
We're exploring how faith and religion shape our lives as we grow older.